So the Chiefs-Jags, the Chiefs won 27-17. Not the worst game in the world. There were points where this really was a blowout, essentially. My first main takeaway from the Jaguars is goddamn Trevor Lawrence, bro. Like, there are moments where I watch Trevor Lawrence and I think there's only 2 or 3 guys in the league that can make the throws that he makes. And then there are times that I watch Trevor Lawrence and I think, where the hell were you trying to throw that ball? Because there are times where he'll make a throw and it's 25 yards off target, essentially, or at least it feels that way. And then there are other times where he puts a ball where, as I said, only 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league can do it. And he's ultra athletic but never uses his legs, essentially. So, look, Lawrence has definitely gotten better from his rookie season. There's no question about that. But we're still going to need to see another step being taken next year. They have their wide receiver 1 currently in Christian Kirk, and he's been unbelievable this entire season for them. A signing that got a lot of shit, from me especially, by the way, Christian Kirk and his big money deal. But he's looked great, and he's been worth every penny for them. Not to mention that next season, if he gets reinstated, you also now have Calvin Ridley. So if Calvin Ridley is healthy, he's obviously your number 1 receiver, and Christian Kirk gets moved into an even more comfortable number 2 role. So they have the potential to be one of the most dynamic receiving corps in the league next year, which gives Trevor Lawrence no excuse to not make that jump next year into like kind of the MVP top 10 territory. We'll see what happens with that. Enough about that. They're a very pesky team. They'll probably be a very good team next year. You can even see it coming with the defense too. It's a very young defense. But anyways, less about that, more about an actual MVP candidate, and not even MVP candidate, MVP frontrunner, Patrick Mahomes. Goddamn, I'm so sorry, Pat. I was completely wrong. I said Jalen Hurts this week on the Ball Game podcast, plug, that Jalen Hurts was the MVP. I was incorrect. Patrick Mahomes the MVP. It's pretty obvious to see, man. 4 touchdowns, 1 pick in this game. I think he had 296 yards or something like that. He is just one of one. And it's so fun to watch. And we really are like blessed to get the opportunity to watch a guy like Patrick Mahomes because, well, he could become the greatest quarterback to ever live. And that's a real thing. Tom Brady has his 7 rings and stuff, and that means something for sure. But we are arguably watching the most talented quarterback in our lives. And we could also be watching the other most talented quarterback in our lives, and Josh Allen as well. Obviously, he's not been as nearly as good in the past few weeks or whatever, but back to Patrick Mahomes. He's just unbelievable. He's the MVP as of right now, and that's pretty damn clear, if I'm being honest. Isaiah Pacheco seems to have a stranglehold on the running back job now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is essentially phased out. Jerick McKinnon occasionally has his spots here and there. But Pacheco just brings a different kind of explosiveness to this offense. He has 4.3 speed. He runs extremely hard. Of course, I mean, it's a great offensive line. So if they start figuring some stuff out there at running back and they start to get a bit of a running game going there, that's a scary team. I mean, it's already a scary team. But if the running game starts to get going as well, there's no way you could guard them. They're the best offense in the league by points per game. They're averaging over 30 a game. And yet, there's still possibly another gear to this offense. By the way, I really hope Juju gets healthy. He had a concussion in this game. Really hoping he gets back healthy. He's having one of the more underrated wide receiver seasons this year. Kadarius Toney looks like exactly what you acquired him to be, and the terrifying part is they're scheming him touches. We know he's going to be great there. I had a bad feeling about it. But the Giants still made out well in that trade. It made sense. Whatever. Kadarius Toney looks great in a Chiefs jersey. Also, the defense is performing, and that's a scary sight because if the defense is performing, Kansas City is unfuckwittable, and that's not going to be fun for the rest of the league. They obviously have a great pass rush now, a lot of rotational guys in that pass rush. Man, if they're performing this well with an offense that's scoring over 30 points per game, I don't see how there's a team that could beat them in the league. Saints-Steelers, final score was 20-10. Steelers won. Kenny Pickett's first win as a starter. Didn't watch this game. Another one that I really did not care enough about. Dalton fell right back to earth after a few really good games. I'm not sure what's up with the Kamara usage. He should be getting at least 15 to 20 touches a game. He ended this game with 11. Not sure what's up with that. And the game script didn't seem to be that far off to get him the ball. And no matter what, you can utilize him in the passing game and stuff as well. So I'm not sure what was up there. I don't know why Kamara didn't get more touches in this game. It's the Saints. They're done. They're not a good team. Andy Dalton's their quarterback, but on to brighter things. Kenny Pickett showed some damn flashes. Najee Harris had a decent game finally. I think he had like 20 rushes for 99 yards or something like that. And one of the guys that I definitely wanted to highlight is a guy that goes very much under the radar for the Pittsburgh Steelers because, well, he's been TJ Watt's running mate, and TJ Watt gets all the credit for that defense. And that's Alex Highsmith, who has gone criminally underrated for the entirety of the season. And I barely hear anybody talking about him on NFL shows, on talk shows, anything like that. I don't hear anything about Alex Highsmith. And the man deserves a lot of credit because he has 8 sacks on the season, and he had 2 of them in the game against the Saints. And he's been one of the best edge rushers in the league. He's been that good. He sets a great edge in the run game. He's a very good pass rusher, obviously. And man, I mean, TJ Watt coming back only makes him better because all the defensive attention shifts straight to TJ Watt. Just wanted to give Alex Highsmith his flowers, man. He definitely deserves that. So, Steelers W. Colts-Raiders was honestly pretty funny. I'm not even going to lie because, well, Jeff Saturday tweeted last week or something, the Raiders are really bad or something like that. I don't remember what it was. Yeah, the Raiders are really bad, and Jeff Saturday just got his first coaching W in his first coaching game. Matt Ryan is back in the saddle for the Colts because obviously Jeff Saturday decided to name him the starter after becoming head coach, and he looked pretty good. You can't complain about that. Matt Ryan is obviously the best quarterback on that roster, but at that point you didn't even care because you looked like you were just going to go for the losses at this point. But maybe the Colts have a slight run in them. But speaking of being back, Matt Ryan wasn't even the best player in that game in a comeback because that was Jonathan Taylor coming back from a sprained ankle, and he was unbelievable. I think he had 140 rushing yards. He had a touchdown, one of them being a 67-yard rushing touchdown, I think. And he got a shit ton of rushing attempts, and obviously they trust him and they think he's completely back and completely in health. And that's huge for the Colts. That's huge for their chances of possibly making a run towards the end of the season. And that's not the only offensive weapon I wanted to highlight because, of course, you have Michael Pittman, but there's one receiver that in the last 3 games that Matt Ryan has been at quarterback, Paris Campbell has had 32 targets, 24 receptions, 203 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games that Matt Ryan has been quarterback. So there's clearly a very good connection there, and Matt Ryan trusts going to Paris Campbell. We saw him break a touchdown. I think it was nearly a 30-yard touchdown on a slant or something like that. Campbell's a very dynamic receiver. The biggest problem with him is he's always been unable to stay healthy. So if he stays healthy and Matt Ryan is the quarterback there, he might be a nice little fantasy football ad too. Of course, on defense, DeForest Buckner and Stephon Gilmore have just been as consistent as can be. Had a great career to this point, both of them, and they're still dominating. Unfortunately, Shaq Leonard is out for the season. Of course, you're going to need Buckner, you're going to need Gilmore, and a bunch of other players as well to step up. But Shaq Leonard is an absolutely major loss for them, and that's definitely going to hurt their chances. As for the Raiders, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Devontae Adams was really good. The rest of your weapons were injured. Aside from that, the defense is absolutely fucking atrocious. And honestly, I could say that they maybe have 2 good players on that defense, and it's Max Crosby and Rock Ya-Sin. I'm not so sure I could say anyone else on that defense is even worth your time. Cardinals-Rams, again, one other game that I did not give much attention to. You had Colt McCoy going at it with John Walford. Did I care? Hell fucking no, I didn't. I don't know if any of you guys watch Red Zone, but they had a military member on, and I forgot her name. I apologize for that, but thank you for your service. And she's a massive Lions fan. And of course, her favorite player is Matthew Stafford from his time spent with the Lions, and now he plays for the Rams. So, of course, NFL Red Zone and the NFL were trying to be nice, and they wanted to give her something, and they gave her tickets to the game with the Cardinals versus the Rams, which was right across the street from the Red Zone studio. But of course, she didn't even get to watch her favorite player because he didn't fucking play. So honestly, if I were them, I'm giving her tickets to the next Lions game or the next game that Matthew Stafford is going to play because that's some fucking bullshit and I'd be pissed off. It was a nice gesture. I know what they were trying to do. It was just unlucky that it ended up being Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford were both injured. But like, to go to that game, that sucks. I would hate that. To go watch John Walford, versus Colt McCoy instead of Matthew Stafford and Kyler Murray. Wow. I feel so terrible. You deserve better. Anyways, back to the game. DeAndre Hopkins is him. Rondale Moore is very good at the whole football thing. Unfortunately, Cooper Kupp for the Rams is out for a while, probably at the bare minimum of 4 to 6 weeks because it's a high ankle sprain. And honestly, the Rams season is in the bin. It's over. You could call it a wrap at this point. Cowboys-Packers was a good one, honestly. Great game. My first takeaway from this is the fact that Dak Prescott just has to be better. And of course, you could chalk up the 2 interceptions. You could definitely give him an excuse and blame it on the receivers in miscommunication. But at the same time, you don't pay a quarterback $40 million plus to be losing games that he should be winning. Of course, he was lined up against Aaron Rodgers, and it was Dak versus Aaron. And he's not better than Aaron Rodgers. But that's a game where you have a far superior roster. And that's one you most definitely have to pull out. Tony Pollard played fantastic once again for his second straight week without Ezekiel Elliott. No surprise there. CD is finally getting in a rhythm with Dak. I think he had 11 targets and caught all 11 balls for well over 100 yards and a touchdown. So CD and Dak are finally getting their connection going together. As for the Packers, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are absolutely the key, and more so the former than the latter. Aaron Jones was unreal in this game, and I think he finished with like 130 plus rushing yards on 20 plus rushes, and he absolutely dominated on the ground against a weak Cowboys run defense, which has been their problem all season long. That's going to be very important, as I said, in a NFC that is loaded with teams that can run the football. A.J. Dillon, definitely a good change of pace back for them. You need to feed the two of them more. Because guess what? This was Aaron Rodgers' best game of the season, and he only threw 20 passes outside of the Bears games, of course. But this was exactly what they needed. And honestly, it was Rodgers' best game of the season for more than just the numbers. He gave his rookie wide receivers, or at least his young wide receivers, a lot of confidence in this game. Christian Watson dropped 2 balls early in the game. And then he finished with 4 catches, well over 100 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Obviously, Christian Watson is a very raw prospect. It's his first season. It's his rookie year. He doesn't exactly have all the nuances of being a receiver down, especially not the nuance of catching a football. He's 6'3", 6'4", runs around a 4.3, and those can't be taught. So Christian Watson will probably develop pretty well. They might be having a weapon for the second half of the season now. As long as Aaron Rodgers just trusts his younger guys, feeds them confidence, and maybe they can make some noise there. Aside from that, Rudy Ford, 2 interceptions, the game of his life. 28-year-old safety had the absolute game of his life. Got 2 picks on Dak, both of Dak's picks. So respect to him, came up big time. Aaron Rodgers, big game for him, even though it was only on 20 passes. Christian Watson, 3 touchdowns, and Dak just needs to be better. Chargers, 49ers. Niners won this game 22-16. This poor guy, Justin Herbert, man, he's playing through an injury himself, a rib injury nonetheless, which only makes things even harder for him. His O-line is beaten up, although they really fought in this game against a fantastic defensive line. They gave it everything they had. But when you have no Rashawn Slater, no Joey Bosa, no Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams, no J.C. Jackson, and the D-line, interior D-line specifically, is absolutely destroyed, it's going to be hard to win some games that way. But somehow, some way, the Chargers have been. And the guys that I named, they're probably 5 of their 7 or 8 best players on their team. And it's almost impossible to overcome that many injuries. They played the 49ers, who arguably have the best defense in the NFL, extremely hard. And that is a testament partially to Justin Herbert and partially to the guys that are stepping in. And of course, definitely deserve some credit to coaching. In the end, you just don't have enough right now. And Mike Williams should be coming back next week. Keenan Allen hopefully will be back. J.C. Jackson, I believe, is done for the season. Slater, same thing. Joey Bosa, I think, is back soon as well. But look, I mean, if help ain't coming soon, you're right now a 5-4 football team. You definitely still have eyes on the playoffs, but you need your guys to get healthy. Also, just 11 rushing attempts by the entire team. So what are we doing there? And also, 4 of them going to Isaiah Spiller, who got 3 yards. He's not good. We need to stop with the Isaiah Spiller getting handoffs. You need to just, at this point, give it a Sony Michel and Austin Eckler and live with that, because Justin Herbert needs some goddamn help right now. You can't just continue to make the guy throw 40-plus passes with injured ribs. It just can't happen, especially when most of your receiving core is absolutely destroyed. So let's give Justin Herbert some help. Let's use the run game. Let's stick with the run game. Don't just abandon it, and try to help out Justin Herbert as much as you possibly can. As for the Niners side of things, Elijah Mitchell is back. Why is that a big deal? He had 18 carries, and he was incredibly efficient on those 18 carries. I believe he had 90 yards, 88 maybe, something like that. And more so than that, he spells Christian McCaffrey and gives McCaffrey the ability to save himself as much as possible for the playoffs. Not saying that Christian McCaffrey doesn't get any touches in games still. I believe he had like 16 total touches in this game, which is still quite a bit. You're saving Christian McCaffrey for when you actually need him in games, and eventually in the playoffs, which is when you're probably going to feed him the absolute most. Elijah Mitchell looked great. If he's healthy, he adds a big dynamic to that backfield, because now you have two unbelievably efficient rushers. And Elijah Mitchell is no slouch. He's one of the best pure runners of the football in the league. And obviously, he's going to make life a hell of a lot easier for Christian McCaffrey, who's not going to have to handle 20-plus touches in every single game. Keeps him fresh for the playoffs, keeps you guys in the best possible situation. And of course, Jimmy Garoppolo has been good. He's been arguably very good this season. And it's no longer Deebo Samuel as his wide receiver one. This season, for the last at least 5 or so weeks, Brandon Ayuk has been his wide receiver one. And that's something there. Ayuk is a very good wide receiver, and he has been for a couple years now. And we all expected him to break out in a big way last year. That didn't exactly happen. He was good. He wasn't great. This year, especially the last 5 or so weeks, he's been exactly what we all expected him to be. And that's big time for the Niners. They have so many weapons on this team, and it's terrifying, because this is probably Jimmy Garoppolo's best supporting cast that he's ever had. This is definitely, in my opinion, a Super Bowl contender with a deep defensive line and one of the best overall defenses in the entire NFL. And of course, if Jimmy Garoppolo just doesn't fuck up and makes a couple throws a game, this is a terrifying team. Lastly, the final game of the week was Monday Night Football, and the team that I wanted to troll the absolute most, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles playing against the Washington Commanders, as the Commanders won 32-21. There was a fumble at the end of the game on the laterals and stuff, and it ended up in the end zone, and the Commanders picked it up and scored a touchdown. So realistically, the game was 26-21. And honestly, the luck of turnovers that the Eagles had in the first 8 games came back to bite them. They had 3 total turnovers in the first 8 games of the season, which, by the way, was an NFL record. So eventually you had to figure that the luck was going to turn around just a little bit. And so the Eagles had 3 in this game alone. And the first one was Jalen Hurts' interception, but really that was just a fantastic play by Derek Forrest to get back and just make an unbelievable play on the ball and pick him off on what looked like it was going to be a pretty damn good deep ball. But obviously a great play by a DB negates that. There's your first turnover of the game. Second turnover of the game, Dallas Goedert had a face mask that was not called, and he ended up fumbling on that play. So that's kind of some bullshit there. I'm not going to lie to you. That probably should have never happened, but you can't review penalties. So therefore, the fumble stood. The last one, Quez Watkins caught a deep ball, a beautiful deep ball by Jalen Hurts, might I add, fell to the ground, got back up, started running again, and got the ball punched out from behind by Benjamin St-Juste and recovered by the man of the game, Derek Forrest. Just an unlucky play for them, and that was the 3rd turnover of the game, and obviously the most costly one. This came in the 4th quarter, off an absolute dime to put them in Commanders territory. The Eagles, if I have to put it simply, just need to run the ball more. They had, I think it was like 12 attempts with Miles Sanders, and Miles Sanders has once again just been incredibly efficient on the touches that he does get, so I don't know why he doesn't get more touches for that matter. But they have to run the ball more, especially when they got more than doubled up in time of possession in this game. The Commanders held the ball for more than 40 minutes in this game, and the Eagles held it for just slightly over 19 minutes. That is not going to win you a football game. The fact that this game was even this close is unbelievable in its own right. It was like 7.5, 8-minute drives, just dominating the ball for half the quarter and not giving it back to the Eagles under any circumstances. They were wearing down that Eagles defense. And if you're not going to try to possess the ball for longer, if you're the Eagles, then this is going to happen. The other team will wear down the defense, especially when they have to be on the field for 40 minutes in a game. Aside from all that, Heineke was good enough, got the job done. He only really had one bad play, and it was a throw to Terry McLaurin that was kind of underthrown and too far inside, where C.J. Gardner-Johnson still made a very good play on the ball. But you had Terry if you threw it more towards the sideline. He didn't, and he got picked off for it. And it, luckily enough, did not prove to be a costly turnover, as it was in the fourth quarter, and the Eagles had the opportunity to come back. You were already in Eagles territory, and you needed points at this moment. Didn't end up getting them. Obviously, you turned the ball over, but the defense got it back for you, so it didn't matter too much there. 44 rushing attempts from skill players in this game for the Commanders, and that's a number that makes complete sense when you realize that they held the ball for over 40 minutes. They were putting themselves in good situations. The running game was not exactly efficient. It only averaged about 3.2 yards per carry. But they were doing it on first and second down so much that to a point you were getting 3rd and 3s or 3rd and 4s. And those were incredibly manageable third downs. And when it's a 3rd and 3 or a 3rd and 4, you're going to convert those most of the time. And they did that. I believe in this game they were 13 of 18 on third down conversions, or it was a crazy number. They had a hell of a lot of third downs in this game, and they converted a lot of them, way more than they should have. And again, the reason being was because the average yards to go was around 3.5, 4 yards on third down. Made life a hell of a lot easier for them. Left most of the playbook open, run and pass. So just a great game for the Commanders. Absolutely dominated time of possession. Should have won by more, though. Anyways, the Giants are on their way. The Eagles just lost the game and the Cowboys lost. So we're in second place and only back by one game. Eagles fans, you should be shaking in your goddamn boots. With that being said, just want to thank you all for watching. I see that this has gone well over 50 minutes of recording time at least. I don't know what it's going to end up being after I edit it. If you survived this long, let me know in the comments. Of course, go follow me on all my socials. My link tree is going to be in the description. I've been extremely active on Twitter, and I'm getting more active on TikTok and Instagram recently. So please do go follow both of those, as I said. Go follow Ball Game on all of our socials. Link is also going to be in the description. We live stream from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. every Friday. Keep an eye out for my podcast. I have a lot of changes coming and some interesting changes nonetheless. So you guys will have to be tuned into that to see what happens there. And of course, take care, everybody. Goodbye.